Bonjour à tous, français 2 pour votre deuxième journée de e-learning. So, welcome to your second e-learning. For the agenda for 119, ça c'est le 19 janvier. We're going to talk about the last two verbs that go with the vouloir and pouvoir verbs that we've been talking about, and those are devoir and falloir. And then your exercise will be exercise 29, which will be a Google Doc, and I'll go over kind of what that is about as well. So the last two verbs are very similar, right? So we've talked about pouvoir and vouloir, right? To be able to or can, and to want. Once again, we notice similarities. We have OIR, 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 OIR. Again, when you see those, it's generally going to be an irregular verb. So let's start with devoir. What devoir means is either to have to or must. It depends on how you're translating it. This one deviates even further from pouvoir and vouloir. They have a similar kind of trajectory. This one does not. So when you conjugate devoir, it changes completely. You have DOIS, DOIS, DOIT, doit. And this is also on the page in TL Campus. So when we get to the plural column, it's DEVONS, DEVEZ, and then the plural third person, DOIVENT. So again, it changes completely. Je dois, tu dois, il, elle, on doit, nous devons, vous devez, ils, elles doivent. Okay. So I must, you must, he, she must, we must, you must, they must, or I have to, you have to, he has to, she has to, we have to, you have to, they have to. It just depends on the context of the sentence and on what you're trying to say. So that one's a little bit trickier just because it doesn't follow the same pattern as pouvoir and vouloir, which we've talked about. Now, the last verb, falloir, to be necessary, this one's very special, right? So when you conjugate falloir, you only are able to conjugate it with one subject pronoun, il. And then it looks like this, faut. That's the only way this can conjugate, because you can't say I am necessary in French or you are necessary in a way that it would be a verb and a subject. It is necessary is the only conjugation for it, right? Il faut. So that's all that one is. Il faut. So je dois, tu dois, il, elle doit, nous devons, vous devez, ils, elles doivent, and il faut. Okay? So on your exercise, which for you will be a Google Doc, but it looks like this. Je vais le tenir comme ça. So it is using all three verbs of vouloir. Oops, wrong marker. Oh no. Of vouloir, pouvoir, and devoir. So your exercise is using all three of those. If you look at it, it gives you in parentheses the form of the verb, right? Or not the form, but the infinitive that they want you to use. So if you look at number one, it says, and we'll do that one together. I'll kind of just write it here. I believe it starts with Daniel blank, and then in parentheses, ne pas pouvoir. Right? So what it's wanting you to do is use the present tense form of pouvoir, but since we have ne pas here, put it in a negative. So, in order to do that, I'd say Daniel ne, right? And Danielle is she. So, third person singular, so first column, third one down. So, Danielle ne peut, P-E-U-T, pas. So Danielle can't. Danielle ne peut pas. And again, these conjugations are on TO Campus. Those charts are there. You can look them up however you need to. So Danielle ne peut pas. Danielle can't. And then let me make sure that's the only one. So number 6 is also a negative, and it is pouvoir, but it is a different subject. It's ILS plural, so third person plural. But it would be the same structure, just a different conjugation of the verb. And then number 9 is also in the negative. So being in the negative is the only other difference, right? But you only use these 3 verbs for those: vouloir, pouvoir, devoir. And this is number 1. Comme ça. So that's all you have to do. It gives you the verb in parentheses. If it has ne pas, it wants you to put it in a negative like this. If it doesn't, it's just the present tense form of the verb conjugation. If you have any questions, please do not hesitate à me contacter to let me know. À bientôt.